Every single evening, a guy named Caleb carries these heavy, rough wooden planks down to an old river. And literally without fail, the people in his village just stand by and laugh at him. I mean, they point, they whisper, they ask him why on earth he's wasting his life. But Caleb, he never argues back. He simply smiles, picks up another plank, and just keeps building. Okay, let's dive into this. Seriously, imagine spending 5 entire years of your life building something that absolutely nobody wanted. Zero support. Nobody believed in it. So why? Why would someone dedicate half a decade of their sweat and energy to this invisible vision that gets absolutely zero applause? Well, to understand Caleb's mindset, we first kind of have to understand the environment he was living in and the glaring problem that everyone else was just ignoring. So here's the setup. In Caleb's peaceful valley, there was this wide river separating two small communities. Now, during the summer months, crossing was incredibly easy. The water was super low, people would just hop across the shallow rocks, and everyone was perfectly complacent. Nobody thought a bridge was necessary. But the rainy season, that changed the whole shebang. The current became violent and incredibly dangerous. Travel completely stopped. Children missed school, farmers lost valuable time. And worse, emergency help was severely delayed. And you know how it goes. Year after year, the villagers complained loudly about the danger, but year after year, absolutely nothing changed. So what actually triggers a change? Well, Caleb had crossed this exact river since he was a kid, but one rainy evening he's standing on the bank and watches an elderly man violently struggle against the rushing water, just nearly being swept away. Neighbors barely managed to pull the guy to safety. Now, most people, they forgot about the whole incident by the very next day, just went right back to their normal lives. But Caleb didn't. He actually spent a sleepless night staring at his ceiling, completely haunted by one terrifying thought. What if next time nobody is there to help? That sleepless night, right there, was the catalyst. He decided the very next morning he was going to build a bridge. Not because some village leader asked him to, but because someone, eventually, would desperately need it. And the crazy thing is, Caleb executed this massive goal without any traditional advantages. I mean, he wasn't an engineer, he wasn't wealthy, and he definitely had no heavy machinery. He relied purely on a proactive mindset and just relentless consistency. First, he'd finish his grueling day job just to survive. Then he'd gather whatever discarded materials he could get his hands on: recycled wood, old beams, rusted metal pieces. Finally, he'd head down to the river and get to work. He did this every single night, building this monumental, life-saving structure literally out of the village's scraps. And well, human nature being what it is, the village had plenty to say about it. The mockery was constant. You can imagine the comments, right? You're just one person. You're never going to finish this. Hey, the government should be doing it. It is always so much easier to stand on the sidelines and criticize the person actually in the arena, isn't it? But Caleb's response? It was brilliant in its simplicity. He never replied, not once. He fundamentally believed that working builds things, whereas arguing builds absolutely nothing. He just let his actions do all the talking. Now, his progress perfectly captures the totally unglamorous reality of building a true vision. Year 1, honestly, almost nothing looks different. Just a few stubborn wooden posts standing above the water. Year 2, finally, a short, small section actually connects to one riverbank. It's slow, it's mundane, and it's exhausting. But then, by year 3, this subtle shift happens. People realize he isn't quitting. The mockery kind of starts to fade. A few kids start bringing him water after school. An elderly carpenter quietly steps in to offer advice and help strengthen the structure, completely without asking for credit. By simply refusing to stop, Caleb was slowly but surely converting his harshest critics into quiet supporters. But then we reach the edge of the 5th year. A massive, powerful storm hits the valley. And I really want you to imagine the sheer tension and terror of this moment. Rain pours relentlessly for days. The river swells, becoming more violent and dangerous than anyone in the community has ever seen. The usual crossing paths, they completely disappear beneath this raging, muddy water. Families are trapped in their homes, and late that night, the unthinkable happens. A terrifying medical emergency strikes. A young mother desperately needs life-saving help for her sick daughter. Panic literally spreads through the village like wildfire because crossing the river is totally impossible. Then, right in the middle of all this panic, someone remembers the bridge. People rush through the blinding rain and howling wind toward this strange, unfinished-looking structure of scraps and recycled wood. They step onto it. And it held. One family crossed safely. Then another. Then another. Throughout that terrifying night,
Dozens of panicked people crossed the very bridge they had spent half a decade mocking. It became their only path to safety. When sunrise finally arrived, the whole landscape of the village had changed, and so had the hearts of the people. The laughter was completely gone. It was replaced by profound relief, heartfelt apologies, and just deep, deep gratitude. The exhausted villagers gathered around Caleb, and the village leader stepped forward, looking at the man they had all doubted for so long, and asked him this pivotal question: "Why didn't you stop when everyone criticized you?" Caleb looked out at the raging river. He didn't boast, he didn't gloat at all. He just quietly delivered an answer that silenced everyone in the valley. I wasn't building for today. I was building for the day someone would need it. I mean, wow. He absorbed 5 years of isolation, 5 years of hard labor, and 5 years of ridicule, all for a single night of absolute necessity.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core lesson we can pull from the source material today. Think about the waiting for approval trap. It's that highly common mindset where you only put in the work after receiving encouragement and validation, right? Now, contrast that with the builder's mindset, putting in the brutal work long before anyone believes in you. Caleb understood a powerful truth. If you wait for everyone's approval to validate your vision, you might never actually begin. Years later, people mistakenly thought Caleb's greatest achievement was the physical bridge itself. But actually, scratch that, they were wrong. His greatest achievement was proving that vision comes before applause. As time passed, the bridge became this powerful symbol of the village. Children learned its story in school, and a small memorial sign was placed right near its entrance, capturing his true legacy. It read, "Built by one man who refused to stop because others refused to believe." From then on, everyone who crossed that bridge was reminded that great things almost always begin with lonely decisions.
So let's bring this directly back to you and your life. Because right now, today, you might be building your own invisible vision. Maybe it's a lifelong dream you are finally pursuing. Maybe it's a new business you're trying to get off the ground late at night, a new positive habit, or just a quiet effort to build a better version of yourself. And maybe nobody around you understands it yet. They might be ignoring it, or worse, they might be criticizing you, just like Caleb's village did. Well, I'm here to tell you, based on this explainer, that is absolutely okay. Not every vision receives applause at the beginning. In fact, most receive criticism first. You just have to keep building. You have to keep believing. So I will leave you with this final provocative thought to take with you. What invisible vision will you keep building today, even if the applause doesn't come until the storm hits? Remember, the very thing people doubt you for today might be the exact thing that changes lives tomorrow. If this explainer inspired you, make sure to subscribe to Gravonix Stories for more incredible concepts broken down just like this. And hey, I want you to drop down into the comments right now, commit to your vision, and type "I will keep building," because every great achievement begins with one person who simply refuses to give up. See you next time.